How to find the inverse function of a parabola. For this question, we've got consider the function g where g of x equals x squared plus 2x. Find g inverse, stating the domain and range. To find the rule of g inverse, the first thing we do is we let y equal the rule of g of x, which is x squared plus 2x. We then swap the x and y variables and then solve for y. And so doing this, we're going to get x is equal to y squared plus 2y. From here, to solve for y, we need to complete the square. And so doing this, we're going to get x is equal to y squared plus 2y and then plus 1 minus 1. And so factorizing the right-hand side, we're going to get x is equal to y plus 1 all squared minus 1. And now we can solve for y. And so we can say that y plus 1 squared is going to equal x plus 1. Taking the square root of both sides, we're going to get y plus 1 is equal to plus or minus the square root of x plus 1, and so y is going to equal plus or minus the square root of x plus 1 and then minus 1. Now here's where you need to be a little bit careful. This rule isn't a one-to-one function, and so what we need to do is choose the correct rule, either the positive or the negative. And the way we know which one is going to be correct is by looking at the domain of the original function. The domain of the original function is from minus 1 to infinity. This is now going to become the range of the inverse function. And so if the range of this inverse function is going to be from minus 1 to infinity, then this means that the rule of the inverse function is going to be the positive one. And so therefore, we can say that g inverse of x is going to equal the positive square root of x plus 1 and then minus 1. Now the domain of this inverse function is going to equal the range of the original function. If we sketch the graph of g of x with its restricted domain, then looking at this graph, we can see that the range is going to be from minus 1 to infinity. And so for this question, the domain of g inverse is going to equal x values where x is from minus 1 to infinity, where minus 1 is inclusive, and its range is also going to be the same, where it's going to be from minus 1 to infinity, where minus 1 is inclusive. Now that you know how to answer this question, you should be able to answer this exam question from the Maths Methods Exam 1 paper in 2023. It was a very similar question to the one we just did, and it was worth 2 marks. Try this question out and see how you go. And if you want to learn or practice various other methods exam questions related to inverse functions, then log into the Maths Methods Club. And from the main topics, select functions and graphs, and then from the subtopics, select inverse functions, go down to question type, select tech free, and then click on filter. Now you're going to see all the past Maths Methods exam questions grouped by inverse functions from exam 1 paper. Go through these videos and learn how to answer each of these questions. This way, you're going to have a better understanding on inverse functions and be ready for your Saxon exams when it comes to answering these types of questions.